you're probably editing your videos too much. Editing is often seen as like fast cuts, heaps of movement, explosions, sound effects. It's like shaking keys in front of a baby. But that's not good editing. Editing shouldn't be just used as a tool to constantly rehook people. The best kind of editing, the kind of editing that keeps people watching and understanding what you're talking about, isn't about adding more. Oftentimes it's actually about removing things from your content. It's the kind of editing that you might not even notice because it's invisible. Invisible editing is not about making things exciting. It's about removing the need for your viewer to think about what matters. Most people in social media think people stop watching because they get bored. A lot of the time that can be true, but there are other causes for this as well. See, they might be leaving because your video feels like work. You might have something that's actually worth saying. The video might be solid, but the way that the information is being presented might feel overwhelming. It's making the viewer work too hard to understand what you're talking about. And that cognitive effort is what breaks retention. A good edit makes two things feel effortless: comprehension and immersion. Good editing guides the viewer from one point to the next without them ever needing to think any more than's absolutely necessary. Nobody, besides video editors maybe, walk out of a film or switch off Netflix and are like, oh wow, that edit was fucking amazing. No one does that. And why don't they do that? Well, it's like I said, the best editing is invisible. The edit doesn't exist to entertain the viewer. It exists to guide them towards a desired outcome. Once you understand this, you'll see it everywhere. Or, you won't see it because it's invisible, but you'll see it, you'll be able to tell that it's... Move on. If you've seen Whiplash, there's a scene that demonstrates invisible editing perfectly. Now, I'm not going through like cinematic techniques and how to edit a blockbuster film, but the principles that we're about to talk about from this scene are going to really help your content. Every single cut in that scene is placed deliberately. The cuts don't just exist to make things more intense. It's there to remove any room for interpretation. The edit is another tool that's being used to make you feel the way the story needs you to feel. There's never any time to settle, and you don't have to think about how you should be feeling. You just feel it. You don't make the conscious choice to feel tense in that scene because the edit is making that decision for you. This kind of editing allows the filmmaker to influence the way that you feel without needing to throw more information at you that you need to actively process. Now, obviously, this is not just limited to films. In social media content, the exact same principles apply. When people talk about a more engaging edit, they're talking about adding more flashy captions and explosions, sound effects, all of this stuff. But you know that term everyone likes to throw around now, like being overstimulated? That's what happens in your content when you add too much in the edit. Too much editing for the sake of it leads to people feeling overstimulated, and when that happens, they're gone. When you're making a video, especially one like this where it's a bit longer and there's a lot of prep that goes into it, it's really easy to get attached to all of the ideas that you have. You want to include every single point that you wrote in the script. You want all of the footage that you filmed. You want it all. Even this video, for example, I rewrote this entire thing because it just wasn't hitting the point, and it was painful because I spent a lot of time writing the first version of it, but I needed something that hit the point harder. I wanted to talk about multiple different things, but they just weren't immediately relevant. This video needed to solve one clear problem, and I had to cut a lot back to make sure I hit that point and delivered on that value. You really should be clear and direct at every single stage of the production process, from the writing to the filming, and the edit is the final opportunity you get to really dial in that clarity. Take a big Hollywood film like, Lord of the Rings or The Avengers or Star Wars, something like that. Most of these films have hours of unused scenes that were cut because the average person doesn't need to see it. Those scenes don't impact the story in any meaningful way, so they don't need to be there. Only the diehard fans care about that stuff. The average person, it doesn't matter. You only need to include the things that add to the context and the meaning, that help get the point across and solve the problem that you're trying to solve. If the information is structured properly, your edit can help maintain the attention of that viewer by making understanding feel effortless. And that's the real goal. Not faster cuts, flashy graphics, mad sound effects, clarity. And this is where I think most editing advice goes wrong. If your content doesn't have a clear purpose, if you're not clear on who it's for, what problem you're trying to solve, no amount of editing is going to fix that. And that's why I made this video where I break down everything you need to know and think about before you hit record or even start scripting your next video.